There's 2 sets of doors off of the lobby, and if for some reason those are unavailable, there's another exit behind council here. Our muster point is located near the gazebo in Lions Park, and we will not re-enter the building until given an all clear from staff. Next, we'll go into our land acknowledgement with Councillor Ostindi.
Thank you. In recent discussions of separation, we have heard Treaty 6 chiefs and others state that we would be violating our country's sacred agreements with the First Nations if we separated. On social media, I read in reference to First Nations people, "You are less than 3% of the population, you get 3% say in anything. If you wanted to make the rules, you shouldn't have sold the land." And they continue to relate this idea to selling a car. Land acknowledgements are an act of reconciliation and a symbol of seeking the truth. So I ask myself in this context a few questions regarding the truth. How much was the land purchased for? When did Alberta join Canada? Does majority rule everything, or do we follow the law? The land was never purchased. The treaty is a nation-to-nation agreement. Otherwise, it would have been called a purchase agreement. Alberta never joined Canada, like the colony of British Columbia, because Alberta was never a colony. It was a small portion of a territory within Canada. The Government of Canada passed a law in 1905 to carve it out of the Northwest Territories and give the people within it provincial powers. I hope the majority doesn't overrule the law or the truth. I hope that we collectively follow the law, whether we enter a separation process from Canada or not. Treaties are part of the law of our country.
Thank you, Councillor Ostindi. We will go into proclamations, and we have a number of them tonight. The first one is for National Accessibility Week, which is May 25th to 31st. Whereas National Accessibility Week improves understanding and knowledge of Canadians on accessibility and disability inclusion, reduces stigma and additional barriers towards persons with disabilities, and shares best practices and lessons learned related to the National Accessibility Week activities within the disability community. And whereas to offer effective services designed and delivered for persons with disabilities, and whereas to design a sense of belonging or interpersonal connection among its members. And whereas to celebrate ongoing efforts to become more accessible and disability inclusive in Canada, and the work of allies, organizations, and communities that are removing barriers. And whereas to increase awareness through National Accessibility Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of May 25th to 31st as National Accessibility Week in the town of Sylvan Lake. And then we'll move along to the Fibromyalgia Awareness Day. And this is May 12th of 2025, today. Whereas fibromyalgia is a complex illness whose symptoms are very widely and may include debilitating chronic pain, overwhelming fatigue, and cognitive impairment. And whereas there is no known cause of or cure for fibromyalgia. And whereas Fibromyalgia Awareness Day is an opportunity to raise awareness and to show support for those living with FM and their families. And whereas Fibromyalgia Association Canada is the only national organization in Canada that supports both FM research and services for people with FM and their families. And whereas fibromyalgia affects about 5% of Canada's population, which is over 2 million men and women and children of all ages and races are affected by this chronic illness. And whereas people with FM have a right to be treated with dignity and have a right to pain relief. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor of Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of May 12th, 2025 as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the town of Sylvan Lake. And we do have one final proclamation tonight, and this is for the Alberta Community Disability Services Professional Appreciation Week, which is May 19th to 25th. Whereas the Alberta Disability Workers Association is the established professional voice and advocate for the 15,000 plus professionals employed in community disability services across the province of Alberta. And whereas to heighten Alberta's awareness of our essential and valuable workforce by publicly recognizing the positive impact of the profession has on the lives of people with disabilities, their families, and the overall community. And whereas to collectively raise awareness about the essential role that community disability service professionals play in enhancing our lives, the lives of individuals with disabilities who live, work, and play in communities across Alberta. And whereas being a testament to the unwavering dedication and invaluable contributions made by disability services professionals in our community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Megan Hansen, Mayor Sylvan Lake, do proclaim the date of May 19th to 25th, 2025 as the Alberta Community Disability Services Professional Appreciation Week in the town of Sylvan Lake. So thank you. And with that, we will move along to open microphone. Open microphone is an opportunity for a member of the public to express his or her feedback on an issue pertaining to the town. Open microphone is limited to a maximum of 15 minutes, and each speaker is limited to a maximum of 5 minutes. After the presentation, members of council will ask only questions of clarification. You will not receive a response or feedback from council immediately after your presentation. Items that require a response will be brought forward at a future date. And we have 2 sign-ups tonight for open microphone, starting with Mr. Miller. Welcome. You can come forward to this table in front of you. There is a round button in the center of your microphone. Go ahead and sit down, have a seat. You are going to hear a whole bunch of beeping that will start your 5 minutes, so just hang tight till that is complete. And then if you can start with an introduction of yourself, we're happy to hear from you. And we'll just hold on a moment. There you are.
Thank you, Mayor and Council and everyone. My name is Jason Miller. I'm a resident here in Sylvan Lake, and I am here today to raise a concern with a road extension between the Lakeway Landing and the Beacon Hill development. The concern is with respect to Lincoln Street, which in my opinion and based on all the documentation, which I'll give you some references to, was always designed as a local roadway. The design specifications are that of a local roadway. However, that road is pending being extended into the Beacon Hill development. The concern there, which is not only my own, I'm here on behalf of some of the other local residents there. It's a very family-friendly area. There's kids all over the place, and we just have some real safety concerns with that turning into a collector road. So we'll just kind of start off by giving you some specifications of what Lincoln Street entails. It has 17 meters of right-of-way width, and the roadway, based upon my measurements on Google Earth, so a little bit of wiggle room there, is 10.5 meters. The Sylvan Lake Development Process and Design Guidelines require for a collector road that the right-of-way is 21 meters. It also requires that the width of the roadway itself is 12.5 meters. So it is not meeting those guidelines established by the town of Sylvan Lake. There's only one walkway on one side of that street. I do believe that the current design guidelines require sidewalks on either side as well. So it's very subpar for what it's being designed for, and with that extension. I would add that, I gotta watch the time here, the Lakeway Landing outline plan, so it's its own outline plan, separate from Beacon Hill. It did not identify Lincoln Street as a collector road, and that is very well documented in the area structure plan and the Lakeway Landing outline plan. The Beacon Hill outline plan sort of sets their own standards with a 21 meter, so an increase, a 21 meter right-of-way width and a 12.5 meter roadway width, and again 2 walkways. The Sylvan Lake South Area Structure Plan, which I found online, it specifically addresses what is and is not collector roads, and Lincoln Street is not identified as a collector road. And last, but certainly not least, the 2022 Town of Sylvan Lake Transportation Master Plan does not identify Lincoln Street as a collector road. So the concerns there are safety for children. There's a lot of questions about what kind of traffic is going to be going up and down that street. I'm unable to find out whether that is going to be a bus route. I believe that's a school board decision. So just really big concerns by the locals there. You've lost two meters of roadway And we stand out there regularly with our kids, with vehicles parked on either side of the road, and watch regular cars go back and forth, and it is incredibly tight. So I guess, you know, what am I looking for here? Like, I would like some answers as to how we got to this point. It is incredibly well documented, and I'm happy in follow-up to provide all of that information that's well documented at home. I would have brought it here today, but I didn't realize there was an open mic, so I just raced down, and here I am, ill-prepared, somewhat. So yeah, I'm wondering how we got here. That development is well on its way. I will state for the record that the subdivision of that portion of Beacon Hill, as of today, is not registered. So maybe it's in the works, maybe it's been approved, but the subdivision is not. The portion of Beacon Hill that will accommodate that road is not a registered subdivision plan as of today, and which is part of the reason why I really wanted to get down here and get that on the record. I suspect that might change in the coming days, so today was pretty critical for me. Yeah, so it wasn't designed that way. It was never intended to be that. If you look at, 17 seconds. If you look at the collector roads within Lakeway Landing, Old Boomer is identified as one, and Lakeway Boulevard is also identified as a legitimate collector road. And they are 12.5 meters wide road.
Happy to let you finish that thought.
Okay, well, I thought I snuck it all in there, but I'll continue. So they are 12.5 meters wide, the roadway. They have at least 20 meters of the actual right-of-way, and so I'm just not sure how this one slipped through the cracks, and I realize the Beacon Hill development is well on its way, and I think it's integrated into that plan. I would love for those to become dead-end roads. I realize that's not a part of the municipal development plan, but the municipal development plan is also very keen on pedestrian traffic, greenways. There would be possibilities to have walking paths through there where those dead ends would hit. I would just throw out as a thought and a preference, I do not believe that the answer to this is traffic calming. I think that we've badly missed the mark on planning that roadway for future collector road, and that goes right back to 2003 when they did the Lakeway outline plan. So yeah, I would love to see that turn into a dead-end road on either side, and I think it's very warranted. Development is a big part of Sylvan Lake's growth. However, I don't think that that should come at the expense of the safety of our community members and especially our children. So thank you very much for your time. I think open mic is really cool. I raced down here to do it, so hopefully that was all right.
Thank you. Now you're really done. Jolene is just... That was great. Thank you. I don't know if you heard the little chuckle from up here when you said I just raced down very unprepared, because that certainly didn't sound well prepared. Thank you for bringing all of that information to us. We will obviously need to do some information gathering, and then we can get a response back to you. But before I let you go, I will ask, I see some questions from council. Councilor
Well,
Payne.
I was just hoping that the response about this concern be CC'd to council as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Any additional questions? Seeing none, we will, either ourselves or administration will be connecting back with you. And also, we think open mic is really neat too. Most communities have done away with it, and it's one of those things our council has really fought to keep, because good things come out of it. So thank you. Thank you. All right, we have one more for open microphone tonight, and it's Mr. Detre. And you know the drill. Just wait a moment for all the beeping, and then we're happy to hear from you.
Your Worship, Councillors, good evening. Not having access to statistical data for Sylvan Lake, I use the assessment on property tax pertaining to our home since we moved to Sylvan Lake in 2019. The table that I don't want to describe here reflects that property tax year by year, increase in property tax year by year, and Alberta inflation over the same year and period. So the point, the most interesting, is that on the period 2020 to 2022, i.e. over 3 years, at that time, the property tax increased by 3.2%, 3.2% period. On the following period, 2023 to 2025, it increased by 26.8%. So that's quite of a change. However, if you look at Alberta inflation over those 3 years, first 3 years and second 3 years, we got 10.8% from 2020 to 2022, and 9.4% from 2023 to 2025. So, Alberta inflation has been going down slightly, but that's nice, while property tax went through the roof. So it is obvious that since 2023, our property tax has been increasing sharply as it skyrocketed by 26.8% over 23-25, which is nearly 3 times Alberta inflation for the period. But if this had been due to more work having been done for Sylvan Lake, that wouldn't be so bad. I don't have the data for those 3 years, but for 2024, as reported in Sylvan Lake financial statement, the total of contract, general services, material, goods, supplies, utility, and purchase from other government, which has bundled together for comparison purpose, decreased from $22.2 million in 2023 to $19.7 in 2024, which is a drop of 13%. As much less money was therefore spent on work in 2024 than in 2023, it is likely, and that's my interpretation, that less work was done, which would not justify a 6% property tax increase when inflation was only 3.1%. One post, however, increased nicely in 2024, and this is salary, wage, and benefits, which increased from $16.3 million to $17.8, a 9.8% increase. Again, more than 3 times the 3.1% provincial inflation for 2024. So, let's be cynical. Less work expenditure and a much costlier staff in 2024 than in 23, plus a 3-year property tax increase equivalent to 3 times the provincial inflation rate is not sustainable, at least for the taxpayer like me. Hopefully, Council will see to correct that. Respectfully submitted, Mike Détare.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions? Seeing none, appreciate your presentation. Thank you. Next, we'll move to adoption of the agenda. Ms. Phillips, do we have any edits?
I have one edit for section 12B. The FOIP section references 24.1C, and it should actually reference 21.1B, intergovernmental relations.
Excellent, thank you. Any additional edits? Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Rilling.
I move we adopt the agenda as amended.
Excellent. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Next, we'll move along to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a tool used to increase meeting efficiency. Any items marked with an asterisk are ones that administration is recommending to be a part of the consent agenda. So I'll just ask council if there's any items that you have extensive questions or you'd like removed from the consent agenda to allow for debate. Now is our opportunity to do that before a motion is on the floor. Are there any items we'd like to see removed, council? Seeing none, do we have a motion to move forward with the consent agenda? Councillor Dakin.
I move that the 2025-04-28 regular meeting of council meeting minutes be approved as presented. I move that council gives first reading of the election count bylaw 1924-2025 for the 2025 municipal election. And I move that council gives first reading to bylaw 1926-2025 to have the poll hours be extended to 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Excellent, thank you. Final call for any comments or questions on those items? All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Council. Next up, we've got public hearings and delegation, and we've got a delegation on our Destination Leadership and Management Plan.
Hello. Let me just take a moment here to share my screen. Nice to see everybody.
Almost nice to see you too. Well, just hang tight. We're just getting your picture up on the screen.
Got it. Okay.
It was a little bit like the voice from God for a second there, but. All right, we can see you now. Thank you so much. It's great to see you as well.
And you can see our deck on your screen as well?
You sure can, yes.
Wonderful. All right. Well, let's dive in. We are so excited to present the Sylvan Lake 10-year Destination Leadership and Management Plan. It's been a while. I'm Terry Lynn. I'm the principal of Tong Consulting Inc. And the project lead, joined today by my colleague and collaborator, Marve Farhoudi of Ethnomad. Together, we led the DLMP the DLMP development with support from an incredible team. And the expertise of this team came from community economic development, tourism, placemaking, environmental science, economic data analysis, and so much more. So to kick us off, we really wanted to establish what is the purpose of the DLMP, the Destination Leadership Management Plan, and we've defined it as a comprehensive 10-year strategic plan for tourism development and investment in the Sylvan Lake community. It intends to cultivate a thriving and purposeful tourism sector that leverages tourism for the whole community's benefit. And we'll get into exactly what that looks like. So firstly, we really want to emphasize how the DLMP is a formative and foundational document, which is why so much time, attention, and dedication have been paid to it. This is really the first tourism strategy of its kind for Sylvan Lake, and we really see it as a new, exciting beginning for the town, really setting this path for meaningful, thoughtful tourism development that centers community first. It's robust and it's ambitious because that's what we see is required for the town to see sustainable, positive impacts of tourism while really fostering co-ownership of the town's identity as a tourism destination amongst residents and business owners. Plus, what we find really exciting is that this is a formative leadership opportunity for the town, particularly as it relates to sustainable, community-oriented tourism development, really setting you up to take advantage of your unique positioning and identity in central Alberta, but also in the province more broadly. To echo a key point of the report, the DLMP has been crafted really in the best interest of the community. We understood from the very start that there is a conflict between residents and the visitor market, so it was critical to our process to be community informed. So in the early days of the development, we engaged people at local events, through a survey, through workshops. We so enjoyed our session with you in this very chamber, and it really helped us to understand the situation and sentiment, and from which point we developed the DLMP so that the community has power in what happens next in local tourism development, and we see them as a true collaborator. So this approach means more sustainable, positive impacts for the people who live in town, especially those that are there year-round. Moving on to the next point. Not only does the DLMP include a robust implementation plan, it includes robust implementation tools. We are really trying to set the town up to really hit the ground running. So one of the key tools is the Destination Readiness Framework and Analysis, which lays out hundreds of criteria to identify where Sylvan Lake falls along the spectrum of tourism readiness and what milestones need to be achieved to reach new levels as a destination. What's really cool is this tool can also be used beyond the 10-year timeline of the DLMP, so it's really meant to be a guiding resource long into the future. Now, we know it's robust, we know it's ambitious. And so with that in mind, we've decided to present the implementation plan using a phase-based approach. So to back up a little, the DLMP includes outcome and impact statements, which you'll see referred to in the report as OISs, which detail specific visions for what implementing recommendations and actions can achieve. So if you do X and Y, that will lead to Z. And we're super confident that the vision we've outlined is possible to achieve within the time frame. However, that of course is going to take the investments in resources and labor within that period. And we get that sort of thing fluctuates. So the purpose of the phase-based approach is to really identify priorities and sequence of investments, often with one action relying on another to be completed before it can begin. So this allows the town to move ahead as appropriate based on the strategic environment, whether it's within the town organization or the community at large. And building upon this phase-based approach, you'll have noted in that report, if you've had a chance to review, that we really emphasize this grow as you go theme, which is a phrase repeated throughout the DLMP many times. This really allows for measured and data-informed scalability of investments so that implementation is feasible based on the resources available. So when there's evidence of success from a revenue perspective, for example, you know that there's a good case to increase the investments. I know I'm speeding through here, but we have a lot to cover. So one of the formative ideas of the plan is to move Sylvan Lake from a local host to a regional host. We know that there are big ambitions for the town as a destination, and the DLMP provides direction for the destination to excel as a local host while building the capacities required to become a competitive, trend-setting regional host. And it's with this lens that we've used to frame criteria to shape the aforementioned destination readiness framework, which then again is used to inform the strategies presented. What does it mean? What is a local host? As a local host, the destination offers attractions and experiences that cater to the community's assets, both in high season and shoulder season, and is fully equipped to draw visitors from drive market communities. The evolution to regional host means being fully prepared to host visitors from across the region and beyond for short and longer stays throughout the year. So the destination readiness framework and analysis, which we've referred to a few times here and will continue to refer to throughout the presentation, and it's Appendix A in case anybody is looking for it. That's the document in which the criteria are outlined. So to give you an example of what the destination looks like as a local host versus regional host, one of the local host criterion is that the destination's trails serve as a signature attraction for the destination. Moving to regional host with this in mind requires that a well-maintained and well-connected network of trails, urban and natural, serve as a signature attraction for the destination. So you see that evolution of what trails mean from local host to regional host as one example. But the destination readiness framework really provides an entire roadmap, and it covers relevant areas from infrastructure and attractions to visitor-related facilities and amenities, workforce and training, marketing and promotions, and so many more. And then the DRF, the Destination Readiness Framework, then informs the themes, strategic directions, recommendations, and actions of the implementation plan. So we can talk about that structure a little bit more. This is really the meat of it all. So recommendations have been organized into themes, and each theme has about 2 to 3 strategic directions within it. So to go over them quickly, the first theme, places and connections. The strategic directions within that bucket focus on destination development, placemaking, and visitor management. Under the visitors and experiences theme, we have recommendations and actions related to product diversification, entrepreneurship, and business support, and then finally marketing. And the third theme, community collaboration and sustainability, the strategic directions within there are community impact and integration, and destination leadership and management. So while you see on your screen there are these 3 different pillars, we really see them as interconnected and intersecting themes and strategic directions. So You'll see throughout the implementation plan that we've noted where there are alignments or overlaps or intersections between one section and another. Now, for every strategic direction, and the strategic directions are these smaller buckets under the big themes, there are a number of recommendations, and for every recommendation, there are one or more action items. To make it exactly clear what each action might achieve for the town and the community, each is directly connected to one or more of the impact of the outcome and impact statements, which we discussed earlier. And again, if you're looking at the report in print, the OISs begin on page 104 of the document as you're flipping through. To give you an idea, though, of what these OISs sound like, one is that the natural appeal of the water's edge is improved, maintaining the lake as the prime component of the town's character. Another one is key visual corridors to and from the lake are improved, and the sense of connection to the lake is extended throughout the whole town. And another one, just as an example, is that Sylvan Lake's tourism operators enjoy an extended market reach of high-value visitors who are seeking an authentic local vibe and community-centric and responsible recreation experiences. The DLMP is comprehensive, so as the team is moving ahead with implementation, they have these ideal outcomes really defined and in mind. So as they hit the ground running, they really know what they're working towards. Finally, measuring success, and we know we expect you want to know what are the dollars and cents of it all, and how do we measure success? So our economic impact projections show that the GDP generated from visitor spending cumulatively between 2025 and 2034 has the potential to reach $606 million. And as this shift happens from local to regional host, what we expect to see is an increase of day visitors, though more visitors isn't necessarily the goal. What we want is to have more people staying for multiple nights, staying longer, spending more. And this is, we see being able to happen with the implementation of the DLMP. There will be more experiences, more things to pull into the destination, to pull people into the destination, to make them want to enjoy that multi-day stay, really bringing more value to that multi-day stay. So as far as metrics and reporting, it's three-pronged, the DLMP's metrics and reporting. The first prong is a tourism impact measurement framework, which is really about the overall impact of tourism on the community. So this particular section of metrics and reporting covers economic impact, entrepreneurship and small business development, community satisfaction, visitor satisfaction, environmental impact. So we're talking things like number of visitors, visitor spending based on where they're coming from, how long are they staying, what are the occupancy rates, these things that we anticipate will grow with the destination's evolution. The second component is the DLMP performance measurement and reporting guidelines, which is exactly as the name suggests. It's meant to measure and monitor immediate outcomes of implementing DLMP recommendations, actions, project deliverables that are outlined within the implementation plan. So rather than the big picture, this guideline, which is quite comprehensive in the report, it focuses on the immediate feedback of the tourism team's progress regarding implementing the plan. So it focuses on things like industry partnerships, events and tourism products, projects for place enhancements, the tourism partnership accelerator that we've proposed in section 6 of visitors and experiences, and of course, marketing and communications. And then last but not least, it comes back again to that destination readiness assessment. This is really a tool we recommend for the Visit Sylvan Lake team to use to assess its progress from a level 1 or local host to that level 2 or regional host criteria. So these three components, the Tourism Impact Measurement Framework, the DLMP Performance Measurement and Reporting Guidelines, and the Destination Readiness Assessment Tool really make for robust and comprehensive measures of success. So as you know, it's an incredibly comprehensive plan, and we're really only scratching the surface here of the depth, breadth, and potential of the plan in these 10 minutes. We could totally talk about it for hours, but we hear there's an Oilers game on tonight, so we won't keep you any longer. But what I will say is that just to close this out, is that we're so excited to see how things shape up. We're really proud of this plan, and we really do hope that the town will take the DLMP and run with it, and that you really, really embrace your potential to be a leader in community-driven tourism development in central Alberta and the province more broadly. So with that, I will hand it over to you. We're happy to take questions or comments.
Excellent. Council, do we have any questions? Councillor Ostindi.
One simple question. I like the last point you're making about having those measurables, and because then you really, to know where you're putting your resources, that is really making a difference. Do we have the tools already built into our town, our community, to make those measurements, or is that something we have to develop from your assessment?
Yeah, so there are certain things that you'll be able to do, but other things that'll need third-party support, or for example, I recall one of the measurements of visitor spending, like oftentimes communities will invest in data from a company like Moneris, for example. So yes, and also there will be areas where you'll be able to refer to outside sources to support that data. Although it's worth noting that, of course, it's really valuable to make those investments, to know exactly that that your investments in the future are going to the right place and supporting the right areas for growth. Natasha or Merve, I'll hand it to you if there's anything you'd like to add there.
No, I think you covered it perfectly.
So, Councillor Ostindi, so there's a number of things that we do to measure our economic impact assessments. So for example, when we're doing events, we're running those assessments through Travel Alberta, and we're really collecting that visitor spend, and it's telling us all that information that we're looking for. There's going to be other areas within the community that we would be looking forward to collecting some of that information, and that could be potentially through some local business owners. So for example, working with the Gulls or the Aquasplash to determine where their visitor numbers are coming from and what that data actually looks like.
Any additional questions, Council? Seeing none, we do have an opportunity to discuss this very shortly, but no further questions then? Nope. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just like that, we will move into business item 7A, Destination Leadership and Management Plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Natasha Bulla. I'm Tourism Marketing and Development Coordinator for the Town of Sylvan Lake. I'm very excited to be here tonight to provide Council with a copy of the final draft of the Destination Leadership and Management Plan for adoption. The DLMP project began in 2023 and was made possible by 85% grant funding from Prairie Scranton's Tourism Relief Fund, which focused on helping communities recover post-COVID and recognizing the support needed within the tourism industry. The DLMP has received extensive participation from all internal departments, local businesses, committees of council, visitors, residents, Indigenous partners, community groups, and partnering organizations locally, regionally, and provincially. This comprehensive tourism strategy provides a clear direction for tourism growth in Sylvan Lake over the next 10 years in a way that puts community interests at the heart of why and how tourism is done. We're very grateful to our project consultants at Content Consulting and Ethnomod and their partners who have nurtured this project from the very beginning as if it was their very own and created that vision for a destination that asks what tourism can do for our residents. The DLMP envisions a future for sustainable tourism growth and recognition for Sylvan Lake as a top Alberta tourism destination. Administration respectfully recommends that Council approve the Destination Leadership and Management Plan as presented, and we're happy to take any questions you may have.
Let's start with those questions. Councillor Ostindi, go ahead.
I know there's been some discussion around compressing parts or the whole report to give, call it the executive summary you sometimes see on really big reports, because this is a really big report, and how will we communicate it out to community and partners involved in these discussions, or most involved?
And just to clarify, while this document already contains an executive summary, I think it's really an executive summary of the very detailed executive summary that we're asking about.
Yeah.
Yes, we had a mini version of the document created for more public use more public use cases, which is about 150 pages, that document. It's much more user-friendly, a lot more infographics. And then every year when we report on progress, it'll be a much more user-friendly document, like a couple pages kind of thing, for sure.
I'm looking forward to that couple-page annual update. We absolutely are, and I think we might get into this a little bit discussion, but really what it comes down to is being able to relay this mass amount of information to residents, to those that are interested, and quite honestly, even at 150 pages, I'm not sure that we can accurately convey that. So while we were able to take that in, it's really hard to convey those key points within a couple of minutes to anyone we might be having that conversation with. So. Any additional questions, Council? Would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Parsons.
Move that Council approve the Destination Leadership and Management Plan as presented in AIR 1162.
Excellent. Any comments or debate, Council? Councillor Dakin.
Yes, definitely. One of the big things for me under visitor and experiences is the entrepreneurship and business support. And I want to highlight this, and I want to put a little star beside it and then highlight it one more time with glitter. There are a lot of businesses that, or entrepreneurs that do not know how to successfully set up a business in the town of Sylvan Lake. Literally before this meeting, I had somebody from the community message me and say, had I known how hard it would be to open a business in Sylvan Lake, I wouldn't have done what I'm doing today. And this isn't me. I accept challenges and I figure it out, right? But this was somebody else sharing their story. And it is that they are telling people to not come here because they're finding it so difficult to navigate. And so when I think of the navigation in itself, I would really, really love to see a liaison maybe between the Chamber of Sylvan Lake and the town. Somebody that they can go to that does not burden the economic development team, because they are doing so much in the development team. Here's a great example. I want to open up I don't know, I can't think of anything right now because I'm tired, but I want to open up something. And I bought land, and I have this big dream, and I'm going to come to the town, and the first easy thing to do when you apply for a business license is to drop off the application. The hard part now comes when the development team is looking at it and saying, well, whoa, what do you think about this? And then it circulates, and then it has to go back, and then it circulates, and then it has to go back. And so this person who's a dreamer doesn't want to do all these things anymore because they thought that it was a lot easier than it was. So they lose their momentum, and then they're like, well, they'll put their hands in the air and say, well, I'm going somewhere else. So I guess to summarize, the entrepreneur and business support, people who are entrepreneurs will need a liaison support from the chamber and the town that work together to stop wasting their time upstairs. And so they get a full package ready to go with just that one-on-one, help, right? That's a big, big issue. To really understand and navigate what's allowed in this town, especially downtown or anywhere, right? If you're trying to come up with an idea, they need help in order to not waste everyone's time.
Through the chair to Councillor Dakin, I'm sure that's something that we can work with our planning and development team to create something that is an easier step-by-step process for people, and we can communicate that information along with the chamber better.
Councillor Stindy.
Sometimes the answer is that there shouldn't be a single priority, but my question is, does admin have a mindset around how they will handle the many facets of this plan in terms of prioritization, and recognizing back what I just said, sometimes you the shotgun approach is appropriate and everything should be worked on a little bit all the time. So I'm just wondering where's admin thinking at this point?
We use a model that's based off 5 bubbles, and essentially those 5 areas allow us to focus in a little bit more closely on what makes sense now. And that's going to be based on both the macro and micro environmental context at the time, so something like budget internally or staff labor, but also how the environment is changing provincially or with regional partners and things like that. So we do have a bit of a short list that we are working on putting together plans to bring forward to you all. But yes, we'll be able to focus a lot more concretely.
Okay, thank you.
I'll add my comment. As I finished this gigantic document, really the question I was left with was, so now what happens? And how do I understand, I guess, what comes out of this, that it's not on a binder or on a shelf, but what does the next year look like for implementation? What are those really detailed steps, which I hear is coming, but yeah. A similar question to what's been around the table is it just left me a little bit of, this all sounds great, but I don't know what it actually means.
Yes, and Mayor Hansen, we recognize that it is an incredibly large document with so many pieces to it. This past year, when we looked at budget for 2025, we identified some key pieces that we knew were coming through the DLMP, and we really honed in and focused on some of those projects. So there is already the start to it, and then collaborating with all the other departments. So like one of the things, for example, in the DLMP, it talks about is something that's also identified in the Parks and Open Spaces Master Plan, and it's wayfinding with the trails. I mean, that's part of the DLMP as well. So it's taking all of the plans, so it can be the social master plan when it's completed, it's the cultural master plan, it's the plans that P&D has, and bringing it all together into a cohesive project. And so there's going to be so many pieces and so many layers to it. So it's right, you're right, it's not a one size fits all, and you can't just look at it and become overwhelmed. It's all the departments will be pitching in to complete certain items, and you'll see some of the projects coming forward when we look forward to the 2026 budget, and we'll be able to pull that in, and then as we're doing our reporting on a yearly basis, all of those pieces will be fit in nicely, and it'll form a really nice picture for council.
Wonderful, thank you. Councillor Dakin.
Yeah, how do we know when we're having wins? How are we going to quantify this?
So through the chair, the same way that we do our regular reporting in recreation, culture, and tourism, and I'll use specifically like the cultural master plan. So when we do that report card, it checks off all of those wins. It shows what's in progress. The DLMP will be pretty much exactly the same. And so you will actually be able to see that snapshot of what is being completed, what's being worked on. Some things it's going to be multi-year because it is so big and because things are always changing, and that's okay, but we will be able to track that progress. It's great for administration. We like to see things progressing, and same with the rest of the departments, and council's no different. So we want to make sure that we're really showing that, as well as through the tourism development committee, working on some of those things and some of those tangible outcomes.
Thank you. Councillor Stinty.
I just want to make one reflection. It's a big report, of course. I'll admit I need to read it more, to get the full feel of it. But my first reads of it, despite its size, it's a good report. It's laid out a lot of information, and now we have to make decisions. And that's not, a consultant doesn't make decisions for us. So I recognize and honor that part of the process. So yeah, here we go. Let's start chewing.
That's great. Any additional comment? Councillor Dakin.
I want to be more clear with what I said then. When you come back for budget, could you talk about adding somebody, even though I know that we've increased our wages and people who work for us, but to somebody that could be an entrepreneur and business support person? Because I feel like we lose people, and we do need to attract more businesses to this town if we're going to thrive as a tourism regional star.
And to me, that sounded like an official request that be added to our council edge items list.
That was an official request, if that's okay with everyone else.
Which is, it's not done through a motion. They are just a list of items that are then rehashed in the months before budget for us to have a conversation around. So I see a pen wiggling, and no motions come of that until we look at that in total, but that's a great place to make sure it doesn't get lost. Excellent. Any additional questions, comments? Great. Would someone like to, we have a motion on the floor. I did not catch who made it. Councillor Parsons, thank you. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to the Council Respectful Workplace Policy Options. Ms. Gerard.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The report before you today is just looking for some direction to administration with regards to what option you would like us to take for a policy to address council's need to have some sort of document that addresses respect in the workplace. As we discussed, we just recently updated our respectful workplace policy, and the current definition of employee in the policy did not extend to elected officials. And this does present a potential risk, as it is essential that council members both adhere to and are protected by standards that promote a respectful workplace environment. And to address this gap, the policy could be amended to explicitly include council members, or alternatively, we could develop a separate policy that would outline appropriate conduct and expectations for interactions involving members of the public. When we looked at the comparator municipalities, none of their respectful workplace policies seemed to include council. And then our new CAO, she had exactly what we needed, I think, in having a customer conduct policy. And once I looked at that, the one that had been developed at Smoky Lake, we saw there was one for Town of Devon and also Lloydminster. And these policies highlight safety and respect for all, including the public. And I think that's a nice way to address what the expectation is from our staff, council, and the public. They include a commitment to serve public and ensure a safe, healthy work environment. They speak to both the expectations of employees and town representatives in treating the public when they come to us for service, and what we expect from the public when they are accessing services. They also just talk about actions to be taken in the event of inappropriate behavior from the public, and we could also, in a policy, include what that would also, what the expectation and the resulting penalties might be for staff and council, if you so choose. So, we do have options. Council may advise administration to include council in the current policy. Council may advise administration to develop and present a customer conduct policy similar to the examples we provided. Or you may ask us to consider other options. The recommendation we have is to develop and present for approval a customer conduct policy that will set explicit expectations for appropriate respectful behavior. And in doing that, before potentially a motion is made, we might also be looking from council to just have some, maybe through discussion, some insight as to how you would like that process to look. We do have these examples. I think there's examples of staged approach in terms of penalties, or some are very prescriptive. Maximums to how long somebody might be excluded from specific services, and what happens at the end of that penalty review. I think what we saw through all the policies is that the CAO would enforce it, and I just want to make sure that that's how council would see that happening, and whether you would also want to see any descriptions for administration and council in terms of if their behaviors were not adhering to the policy.
Thank you. We'll start with any questions. Would someone like to make a motion, and then we can begin conversation? Councillor Burns.
I'll make a motion that administration develop a customer conduct policy.
Excellent. Who would like to start? Councillor Burns.
I love the idea. I love the examples. I'm just wondering if you know, looking for feedback, if it would be an opportunity for administration to put something together and bring it back to committee of the whole, to look at some of the options. That would be my suggestion.
I'm comfortable with that too. I will note, I really like some of the specific processes and steps outlined. I love the portion that talks about the warnings, stage 1, single point of contact, what those guidelines are. But I also like in the Smoky Lake one that it lists some really specific ones and what that looks like. So I like that portion of it that's laid out. And I would be happy to have a bit of a mock-up of this drafted at your discretion that includes some of those really specific process items. Just because then you know where to go and you know what the next steps look like, and it's really easy to follow that in a case when it's needed. Councillor Ostindi.
I like the thoughts of Councillor Mearns as well, and having a discussion at Committee of the Whole. 3 points I was just going to raise is I don't want too much minute details, i.e. wristbands that have been expired and not wearing them. I saw that line in there. I think we just should say lying, thieving, and stealing shouldn't be allowed. Then there's the one about, I like this model that we're talking about. And the third point was, I'm wondering if the new provincial code of conduct might have some overlap with our work in this area. And I just want to have that in the back of my mind as well. But yeah, I look forward to looking at a model, and I did like the Town of Smoky Lake model and the processes within one of the others, but I found the one too detailed.
That's fair. Councillor Dakin.
Yes, just a question for clarity, I guess. Would this be almost replacing a code of conduct or in places?
We cannot have anything in place that talks about council behaviors, so this really is, yes, there currently can be, but with the new rules, that's not something we could put in place, like it's not even an option on the table. Yeah, you can have no bylaw or policy that, that prohibits or limits councillor behavior. That would come from the provincial policy if that does come into play. So
okay, I just want clarity.
This would be really customer conduct or those that come to receive services from us.
Okay, great, thanks.
Councillor Rilling.
I really like the generalization of that all included. I mean, it's not only who we serve, but who's serving and who is governance. I mean, why should the rules be different? And I like processes.
It's true, but we have no authority over that. To my understanding, there's nothing we can put in place that governs council behavior. Councillor Parsons.
I just like the fact of where we started with this and where we got to so fast. Like, boom. We asked about it and here it is. So I thought there was something in Devon. I knew it.
That's great. Any additional comment? That didn't quite get you the answers to your question, but does it get us close enough that could bring us to a committee of the whole conversation?
Yes, it definitely does, and I will research to make, if anything, we can refer to the provincial code of conduct, if that's a piece there that, it doesn't address it because there's a provincial, like we can make sure that that's in there. And then in terms of staff, we do have our respectful workplace, but I think it's important that this will be a public, like a policy that's council's policy, and so the public can also see that what they can expect from staff.
Yeah. And I would assume, even if we're talking, although we can't manage council behavior, if councillor was the ones receiving the service as a resident, these things would still, so it really is an everyone policy. I think there's a way, yeah, in those situations that still would be applicable when it's not within your role.
Yeah, we can have a general statement about how we should all treat each other in general. But.
What a time. Any additional? Councillor Ostindi.
Maybe one question, just in terms of these kind of policies, does anybody ever use another word other than customer? I often think about, resident and citizen, but I also recognize that we have people from out of town who are coming to our town to do business with us. So it's, I prefer other words than customer in most of the contexts that we work in, because it's with citizens or residents. So I just if there's another word. Otherwise, I can live with the word customer.
Or it can be in the definition that we can describe who that includes.
Okay.
That's great. Seeing no further hands flying, so I will thank you for your presentation. We did have a motion on the floor by Councillor Mearns. With no further hands going up, all those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move to the Council Administrative Responsibilities Policy. Ms. Nelson. It was making you twitchy that that screen was showing of order, wasn't it? I could feel it from sitting back there. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
We were well taken care of around here.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to bring back the Council Administration Policy back to you guys with Council's requested changes and additions. So a couple of updates we did under definitions letter C. So we updated 1A bullet 1, adding all info provided by staff to one council be shared with all members of council. And then we updated under for councillor absences bullet 1. And we additionally moved 2 sections from section 6 to section 5 with additional number 3 and 4 bullets under the speech prep. So that was what we had discussed last time at our meeting that we had brought forward for questions and comments. So with that being said, administration respectfully recommends that council approves the council administration responsibilities policy L-002-017. So I don't know if there's any additional questions from this new updated one.
Start with questions. Councillor Payne will make a motion.
Move that council approve the council administrative responsibilities policy L-002-017 as presented in the report AIR 1132.
Excellent. Do we have any comments? Does that capture our conversation from the last time? Councillor Rilling.
I just have one comment regarding the number 4 on page 47. Councillor absence, and that, like, I like the list. I like the 2-hour radius, the 200-kilometer radius, and those sort of things. But one thing I thought is, and I don't know that it needs to be even specifically put here, but just out of consideration, I mean, if I have an appointment in Calgary or Edmonton, it could be 2 hours away, but I've been waiting to go to this appointment for 6 months. So if I let Carrie know that I'm going to have this appointment, it's not a negotiable day for me. So I just think that, just out of consideration, in case there were an emergency, I don't want to leave my appointment, so I need to know that there's enough people that are going to be here. So I don't know how or if that needs to be stated or put in at all, but I just think it would be beneficial for everybody included.
Through the chair to Councillor Rilling. So right now when you guys send me just dates that you're going to be gone, you don't have to say where you're going to be, just essentially that you're not going to be around. And then I keep track of them all in a joint calendar that Jolene and I and Dawn all have access to. So we can see at the top of the banner how many people are already off. Okay. So that would also help in those situations, say that if you did have a specialist appointment or whatever that is, that, yeah, it is non-negotiable for sure. We can see how many people are already off, and we could always just put like a little asterisk by it, or we could do it in number fashion of who kind of put in their request first, I guess, to decide if how many, just to make sure we have quorum, right, always. But that's something we could look at doing, and then, yeah, whenever you have something, you can just let us, like, ask me who all is off that time, and then I can let you know for sure. But yeah, that's how we do it right now. Okay. So if that's something that we would like that you guys would want changed a bit, absolutely, like whatever kind of works for you guys. But yeah, that's how we do it now.
Appreciate you bringing it up. It probably could fall under that unable to return to Sylvan Lake promptly if required category. Right. But just the note that, you know, if you do have something that's a non-negotiable planned really far in advance, let Carrie know that that day is an away day. No one else has to know exactly what that is. Poor Carrie sees every time I get my teeth cleaned in my calendar and every detail of life, but it probably just I'm away would be sufficient for those. Okay. She'd probably appreciate a little less detail. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Councillor Stindy.
Couple of questions. Do we officially still have a council lounge? Because that's a reference here, and it's not really a lounge, but if we want to keep calling it that, that's fine. But I was just wondering, does that stand the test of time?
There is still a couch.
Is there? I didn't even know. Oh, yeah. Okay. We'll call it a lounge, whatever, you know.
Through the chair to Councillor Ustindi, from what I understand, there will be still some changes going on in that back area. So the hope would be still that you guys would have your area more to the side and I'll be more contained. So when you guys are there, I can just shut my door and you guys are more than welcome to have your council study back. But it's going to be still a bit down the road, but hopefully still in 2025. So we'll see. So I don't have an answer for you right now, but yes, sure. The goal is to definitely have that back area still kind of set up more for you guys once maybe a wall's built and a door's put on. So.
Yeah. Okay. Might call it a council hall. The other question regarding number of councillors in town, the minimum, I know that we need 2, I believe I know we need 2 to declare an emergency, state of emergency. Is there otherwise a number that we are talking about that's a minimum? Are we talking just about quorum of council, or is that, and have we ever had to fight over who's allowed out of town?
Quorum, and I do recall one time we had, I think we had like 6 booked away. It was time early in this term that we had to do a bit of shuffling around it, but I would assume that that is quorum. Is what we'd look for, the minimum. And we do put that request out to put in holidays during busy times quite early, so hopefully that helps us all plan looking when each other are away. But I can only recall one time in 12 years that we've ever had a very busy day. And
okay. Let's hope it always stays that way. My last question was, in terms of communicating to everybody, I caught myself thinking about this while picking up garbage and reporting a few things to the town on the online form to say, oh, this grating is missing on this pipe and kids could crawl in there. Should I have sent it to the CAO as a councillor? Or should I have told my wife to pretend she's the resident that saw it? Or should I have just done what I did and did the online form? So I'm just wondering, like, when we talk about that, communicating with everybody, you know, there's always these weird things, and maybe I picked an example that's clear enough. You know, but I've used that online form a lot, actually, as a resident who's also a councillor. I'm just wondering how to navigate that.
I do think it states that in 1A, the second bullet point there, and kind of gives us that. Yeah, it specifically directs those kinds of requests to go right through there.
That was from a resident, but when I'm the resident that noticed the tree that's about to hit my fence, which happened twice this winter, and it did hit my fence, I reported it, right? You know, it's when I'm the resident, not when the resident comes to me. That's I just said, should I be erring on the councillor hat, or should I just deal with some practical stuff as a resident? And what's the feeling around the table, or is there any direction?
Let me ask that administrative question. Are the words "from a resident" in that bullet, are they needed?
Sorry, is that 1A?
1A, the second bullet there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, the first and
I should
second
just
half.
take that out, is what you're saying. If a councillor receives a simple service request.
Councillor Mearns.
I don't know if we're trying to complicate things, but we're also residents, so.
Yeah.
This is true.
Why wouldn't we just submit? I use it all the time. Like, why would, I don't think we need anything written in here. I think the bullet 2 is correct, that we would still proceed with that, but we're also a resident, so let's just use the form. It's my opinion.
Yeah. Councillor Dakin.
Yeah, but we're always a councillor first. Like, are they gonna, when they see it, is it, they're gonna say, oh, Tim Mearns, you know, like, is there anything in there that could be, I don't know, like, that's, what I've been told over and over again.
Do you have to put your name in there?
Yeah, it does ask, I mean,
Okay, put your spouse's name or a friend's name, or if you're concerned about, I'm serious, like let's not overthink this too much here.
Would anyone like to make a change to that?
I just want some clarity to say how hard are we pushing this, all counselors here, everything of my concern, or?
It's a great point to bring up. I use that form also, not all the time, but certainly when, you know, broken glass all over an intersection was one I can think of. So exactly this. But I'm okay with leaving it as is if everyone else is.
Okay.
Okay. Any additional points? Councillor Dakin.
Can we please define extended weekend? Anything longer than Friday, Saturday, obviously? Is that what we're talking about? Or sorry, Saturday, Sunday?
I mean, even if it hits those 3 bullets.
Basically,
any
if
of
I'm going
those.
to my sister's house at Edmonton for the weekend to go see my nieces.
Yeah, if you're
Gone for
less than 200 kilometers away, you're able to access your technology and you're able to return.
Traveling out of town for an extended weekend. What's an extended weekend? Like if it's Easter long weekend?
Yeah.
Do I have to let Carrie know that do I have to let you know at that point? If I'm gone for Saturday, Sunday, Monday for Easter long? But I'm in Edmonton, I'm within 200 kilometers and I have my cell phone?
I would say no, because it would not fall under the 200 kilometers away from the town of Sylvan Lake. So if you needed to get back for a state of emergency, you could be if somebody else was out of cell service. But yeah, typically right now, when people are gone, they don't tell me where they're going. They just essentially just say like, hey, I'm out of town from Thursday till Monday, these dates. And then I just put it in the calendar. So if it's within that 200 kilometers, then I would say that would be up to your discretion to let us know if you're going to be here or not.
Should we clarify the wording on that point to say traveling to Banff for an extended weekend? Or if it's just the example that's causing the hang up, would that make sense?
Okay, so I guess to better way to do this, if I leave and go to Vegas for 24 hours, that's me being gone. But if I go to the north of Edmonton, I'm not gone.
Yeah, because
Right?
you're accessible.
That's right? I just want to understand it because I don't want to get in trouble. Okay.
Perfect.
Also, that being said though, if you were in Vegas and there was something that we needed to get a hold of you on Teams and you were available, then you could. But if you're out camping somewhere where there's no cell service, then you can't be. So even if you're out somewhere by Edmonton that has no cell service. So I think it's like the cell service part too, I think is really important. If we need to get a hold of somebody, like if admin needs to get a hold of somebody for something that's going on.
Excellent. Would we like to change the wording of that example for clarity? Okay. Great. Any additional comments or discussion? Seeing none, Councillor Payne made a motion. All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Do we have one more in us, Council? All right. Let's do the election mobile polls special ballots report. Ms. Wishu.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. I am here to present 2 motions to Council this evening. Firstly, to allow the returning officer to accept special ballots for the 2025 municipal general election. And secondly, to provide an institutional poll for the residents of Bethany, Sylvan Lake, and the Sylvan Lake Lodge. Section 77.1 of the Local Authorities Elections Act states an elector whose name is contained in the permanent electors register and who is unable to vote at an advance poll or at the voting station on election day may apply to vote by special ballot. Section 80.1 of the LAEA states the election authority by resolution or the returning officer, if authorized by resolution of the elected authority, may designate the location of 1 or more institutional voting stations for an election in addition to voting stations designated under Section 37. During past elections, Administration obtained council's approval to provide the opportunity for electors to vote via special ballots and to provide an institutional poll at Bethany, Sylvan Lake, and the Sylvan Lake Lodge. The requests presented this evening align with Council's guiding principles of transparency, engaged citizens, informed decision-making, and continuous improvement. The notice of election on nomination day must be made in the prescribed form pursuant to the Local Authorities Elections Act. Press releases, the town website, and social networking will be utilized for public awareness of the municipal election and the results. Council has the following options: to approve the resolutions as presented, to deny the resolutions allowing for special ballots and an institutional poll, or to request further information or revise the motions as presented. Administration respectfully recommends that Council passes 2 separate motions allowing for special ballots and an institutional poll for the upcoming 2025 municipal general election set for Monday, October 20th, 2025. Do you have any questions?
We'll start with questions. Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Rilling.
I make a motion that council directs administration to provide for special ballots, with requests for special ballots to be made by one of the following methods: in writing, by telephone, by fax, and in person, and that special ballots must be requested from the returning officer before 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. And further, that completed special ballots must be received at the Municipal Government Building by 4 p.m. on Election Day, October 20th, 2025.
Excellent. Any comments or discussion, Council? All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Would someone like to make motion 2? Councillor Parsons.
Move that council direct administration to provide an institutional poll at Bethany Sylvan Lake and the Sylvan Lake Lodge for the upcoming municipal election on October 20th, 2025.
Excellent. Any additional conversation? All those in favor and opposed? And that is carried. Council, as we've gone past our typical hour, let's take a 10-minute recess, 9-minute recess, and we'll reconvene at, oh no, now my timing is wrong, at 7:25. I think that's 7G, the update caravan policy.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Val Monroe. I'm Community Services Supervisor for Wellness and Community Connections. We are here tonight to present proposed changes to the caravan bus policy. And I would like to introduce Katie Downey, who is her new position is Family Violence Prevention Coordinator. But she also runs some of our programs at WCC, including doing all the scheduling and booking for the bus. So I will let Katie have her talk to you about that tonight.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. The purpose of the report is to request that council review and approve the proposed amendment to the community bus policy C001001F. Oh, thank you. Statement to ensure inclusiveness for all community members. The caravan is also available to transport individuals to Town of Sylvan Lake sanctioned community events. These may include, but are not limited to, information sessions, open house, and similar gatherings. Council has the following options. One, council may approve replacing the caravan policy C001001F with caravan policy C001001G. 2, council may approve the amended caravan policy C001001F as presented with changes as council's direction. 3, council may not approve replacing the caravan policy C001001F with caravan policy C001001G. Administration respectfully recommends that council approve replacing the caravan policy C001001F with caravan policy C001001G. Any questions?
A lot of numbers in there. Great job. Council, we'll start with, do we have any questions? See, Councillor Stindy?
Questioning why 22 passengers was a limit. Is that because our bus is 22? Because I know under class 4 you can go up to 24, including driver. So I'm just wondering if we bought a new bus, will we change policy, that kind of, just to make sure we captured the right number.
Yes, this bus is only designed to carry 22 passengers.
Okay, and so as long as we own this bus forever, this policy can apply, I guess. I just would recommend changing it to the limit. Do we also include the fees in our fees and bylaw, that for the bus in the fees bylaw? So I was just wondering about having them in 2 different places, or should all fees be in one place? That was the question. It's more for, not just for yourselves, obviously, because you don't question to admin, I guess.
It's a great question.
I do not believe that the bus fees are included in the fees policy.
Okay. Just in future, I'd recommend that we put them there too. And then we don't have to open up every policy to change fees or et cetera, just as an idea. Yeah, the only, and the other thing was, we have the town policy in here for drivers, and I was thinking also about just commercial bus license, commercial bus regulations being a requirement of the drivers too. They must adhere to all commercial bus regulations and the town policies. So I won't get too stickly on that, but that is something, if, I'm not sure if we need those words from an administrative point of view for discipline, if someone isn't doing their job. Oh well, I follow town policy, I just skip the ones from the Alberta Transport, maybe.
All of our drivers, in addition to having their class 4, they are required to do a driver assessment, and there are three or four different trainings that they are required to do outside of, I believe it's through the province. They're all online trainings that they are required to do, in addition to getting their Class 4 license. Plus, they have to go through a driver assessment with one of our certified staff members who was certified, to do the assessments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just get you to hop up and use the mic, just because if anyone is on YouTube, the sound does not travel.
For sure. And in regards to the fees and bylaws, policy or bylaw, at the time, Corporate Services advised us not to put the bus ones in there, and so it was left out, but it is certainly something we can go back to Corporate Services and discuss to see if they feel like at this time now it'd be appropriate to put in there.
Any additional questions? Councillor Dakin? No? Would you like to make a motion? Great.
I move the council approve and replace the caravan policy C-00100F with caravan policy C-00100G as outlined in report AIR 1158.
Excellent. Any additional conversation, comments, debate? Are you proposing any amendments specifically from your questions, Councillor Ostindi?
I'm not going to propose an amendment, but we might have to change our policy when we buy a bus. And, you know, if we do modifications to a bus, like throw in a wheelchair access, you suddenly change the number of seats on a bus, then you'd have to change your policy. So I just think in future we should, the next time we revise it, we should think about those things and adjust it appropriately. But I haven't thought of a wording that would capture it at this moment.
That's fair. Great feedback. Any additional comment or debate? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to the People Services, Family and Community Support Services grants. Oh, I see why we're pulling that back. It's incredible what a name change does to how many different documents. Ms. McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. So the purpose of this report is to repeal the People Services, Family and Community Support Services grants policy. During COVID, community grants were removed out of our FCSS budget, and since that time, we have not offered community grants out to agencies as part of our regular budget. We do currently have a grant through Rural Mental Health, and in that grant, we've been piloting the micro grants for this will be our second year of piloting that. They're a $500 grant that community neighborhoods, individuals can apply for if they meet the criteria of rural mental health. Last year was the first year we piloted it. They asked us if we would put it in our grant again this year, just to kind of see how it's working, and so we did. We feel that this this policy is a little bit redundant. Now, Rec and Culture Tourism has their microgrant policy, and if at some point in time we determined that under WCC we wanted to move ahead with microgrants or some other type of granting, that in speaking with the director of RCT, we felt that we could make the changes within that policy to be able to fit the needs of what we would be looking for. So it didn't make sense to keep two policies on the books. Council has three options before them. Administration respectfully recommends that Council repeal the People Services, Family and Community Support Services FCSS grants C-002-003B policy as presented in AIR 1133. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sure, let's start with those questions. Seeing none, would someone like to make that motion? Councillor Mearns.
I make a motion that council repeals the People Services, Family and Community Support Services grants C-002-003B policy as presented in AIR 1133.
I'll start with the comment. When I first saw this, I thought this was the removal of the rural mental health microgrant, and I thought, oh, I was so sad to see that go, and I'm glad that that was clarified. But I will note my lesson, why I was so sad to see it go. It's not that that money couldn't come from in other places. I really love that for grants under $500, it is a one-page application. And when I look at the RCT grant process, it is exactly what it should be for those larger amounts. But I hope we always keep that in mind if we do end up having these real micro grants available for that under $500 amount. It shouldn't take more than a page to apply for it when you need $100 to contribute to something. And I love that about the other program that you have. I'm really glad that that is not what is going away.
Yes.
And with that, I'm fine with this change. Any additional comments? All right, do we have a motion on the floor? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. I made the remark about when you change your name, all the places it needs to be changed, and it triggered a thought from earlier today. Actually, on our website, under your government departments, it still says Family and Community Support Services. So if we could note that and also update it, doesn't need a council motion, but if I don't say it, it will be gone.
And with our new website, I hope that changes.
Yes. Thank you. Next, we'll move along to CP 2402 Herder Drive Rehabilitation Phase 3. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So today's report is seeking approval from the Council to award the tender for the Herder Drive Phase 3. Little bit background of the project. So it all starts from failing infrastructure in Hampton Pond and Hewlett Park area, because this area collects water from 1/3 of the town. And a couple of years ago, before the lift station, there was no proper outlet for the water to drain, and all the storm pipes in Herder, Hunter Road, Hinshaw, all those pipes were very shallow. So the water will sit there and slowly seep into the ground, and in the freeze and thaw cycle, the road started bulging, infrastructure failing, sidewalk, road, everything was failing. So after careful examination and study, we found out that the only solution is the lift station. So we put a lift station and slowly started construction of roads, starting from Hunter Road, and then Hinshaw, and then a part of Hagerman Road, and then we moved to the Hunter Road, Herder Phase 1. Phase 2 is now complete. Second lift we will do this year. And now we are moving to the Phase 3. Phase 3 will start from the Heenan Crescent Park and 60 meters south of the Harrison Road. So this is the scope of work for this year, and it will include stormwater pipes replacement, catch basin repair, sidewalk repair if needed, and road repair, of course, after that. And second lift will be next year. This year, project is funded, and we have $1.5 million in the budget. Project was posted on Sylvan Lake News, town website, APC, and tender closed on April 24, 2025, 2 p.m. We received 2 proponents, one Urban Dirt Works, which is a local contractor, Northside Construction Partnership. Urban Dirt price was $707,000, Northside was $792,000, pretty close and very close competition. We got a recommendation from the consultant Stantec that it should be awarded to Urban Dirt Works. The Urban Dirt Work is a local contractor and quite familiar with our town projects and town itself. We have several options for the council, but we recommend that council award the tender to Urban Dirt Works for $707,644.6. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start with any questions from council. Councilor Dakin.
How come we're not concerned about not having a schedule? How come not having a schedule isn't a concern?
Schedule for the construction of the road?
Yeah.
Yeah. We have the schedule.
Oh, you do? It says in the report we don't. It says in the report from Stantec that there is no schedule, but it is something that is minor.
Yeah, the schedule is for as soon as they complete the second lift on phase 2,
Yeah.
They will start the milling.
Okay.
This
sounds like a schedule then.
It's on schedule, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Would someone like to make a motion? Councilor Parsons.
Move that council award the contract for the Herder Drive Rehabilitation Phase 3, CP 24202 to Urban Dirt Works, Inc. of Sylvan Lake for $707,644.60, excluding contingency and GST as presented in AIR 1163.
Thank you. We can open the floor for any comments or debate. Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, we've got a number of correspondence and information items attached to our package. If there's any questions on those, now is a great time. I'll make the comment. It's nice to see that list growing meeting by meeting of more more meeting minutes that are attached. Next, we'll move along to the CAO report. Ms. Phillips.
So the CAO report has been included in the council agenda. Just to highlight a couple of those items, as it's, there's a lot in the report. So programming is listed there for the Wellness and Community Connections, as well as the NextSource Center. We do have Lemon University workshops taking part this month for our upcoming Lemonade Day on June 14th. And the Discover Sylvan Lake Visitor's Guide will be available soon. Picador Park Campground is now open, and the Spray Park opened on May 2nd, which was due to the warm weather. Probably not open today, although this rain, of course, is very welcome. There's also information in here. The fire department will be launching an online service called Community Connect, where you can list your home and where your bedrooms and whatnot are. So I think that's a great resource that we'll have to do a really good job at promoting. The planning and development stats are included, demonstrating that our development is still going very strong. Public Works, we were successful in the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Grant in the just over $922,000, or I guess almost closer to $923,000 for new wells at the South Reservoir. And the traffic lights seem to be well received. I haven't heard a lot of feedback. I'm kind of interested to hear how that one rolls out. So yeah, so that's, if there's any other questions or comments regarding the CAO report.
Councillor Oostende.
One wonderful thing, I think, is household batteries, as small as they are, they tend to be toxic waste so often. I was hoping that we will promote that as much as possible as a community, that part of our communications plan, no doubt, but I want to celebrate that small toxic issue because it's very cumulative. We all throw away dozens of batteries every year, and I think most of them are in landfills instead of in toxic waste.
Absolutely. Councillor Mearns.
Just a plug for the Fire Department and Community Connect program. I went on, signed up. It's very straightforward and easy, but it provides a lot of information to our first responders. So it's great. You can attach pictures of your shutoffs and if you wanted the route, like everything, it's pretty. You can go as deep as you want with it, but it's fairly quick and easy to set up, and and hope the community looks at using it.
Councillor Dakin.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I booked my first business fire inspection for the distillery, and the fire chief and I are mutually glad it exists. So yeah, really easy to use, so that's great. Second thing is for the lights, maybe if there was just a reminder to society that you can turn right on a red light, that might help the flow there. That's all. Yes, yes.
I look forward to the tutorial. I'll make a comment relating to the CAO report. My family and I enjoyed the Spray Park on opening weekend and chatted to a number of other families there. And I can't fact check this because I didn't call around myself, but I had 2 different families come that I spoke to from different places, and they said we were the only one in anywhere in Central Alberta. Red Deer, nowhere else, had a policy that was flexible enough to open up early and take advantage. So we had lots of visitors in town that day, and it was busy, but it was wonderful. So thank you for being adaptable and looking at the forecast and letting us all take advantage of that. With no further questions on the CAO report, we'll move along to council requests for information and updates. Councillor Rilling.
Regarding the lights, I've had 3 people now come, well, 2 and the other one was kind of, but regarding the lights, and that is, they can't imagine what it's going to be like in summer because of the lights at the town, like where the town, at the MGB, you know, where you turn, coming down the hill and you turn left there. And the pileup of cars, just even now, and lots of times people don't realize they have to leave a opening so that people can come out by the bank there. And so I don't know how that, I don't know if it's possible. What these people have said to me, is there a way to coordinate those lights so that, I don't know, but it would make sense in regards to piling up, because when it comes to summer.
It's a great question. Does anyone, are we able to get some information back if not received that?
Yeah, we can check with our consultant and check if these 48 and this can be coordinated. But this also need CN approval as well, because it's not only our traffic light they have, because when the train is passing, all traffic lights turn into red. So we have to check. But we are putting a camera there for the traffic to monitor which road has more traffic, turning or straight. I think more traffic is north-south. So it's good that we have installed the traffic light, but now we can tweak it. Thank you.
Councillor Parsons.
Just further to that subject, I've go through that all the time, and it's got a lot better this weekend. More people are figuring it out, and I think once all the road paintings and stuff where the stop lines are, because a lot of people are stopping at that first light before the tracks when they can go over to the next. It got a lot. I went through there a lot this weekend, and it's got a lot better.
That's great. Any additional requests for information and updates? I've got one around the time of year has come when we would typically put forward any Alberta municipalities resolutions that we'd like to put forward. So I guess just the request that we have some time before their deadline, which is creeping up a little bit faster than I anticipated, to have the discussion if there's anything we as council should be putting forward this year. And I think it's very soon. So we did put forward a couple in previous years. There's none coming to mind for me that would be a new topic, but I certainly think that we should make sure we take a couple of minutes just to make sure we haven't missed the opportunity this year. We have a couple notices of motion. Councillor Rilling.
I make a motion that a crosswalk be painted connecting Peterson Way and Parsons Drive for safety concerns in a highly trafficked and frequently used by pedestrians, particularly of child age.
Thank you. That is just her first motion for review for us to consider, and it will come back with some further information at the next meeting for us to have a further discussion around. Councillor Parsons also has one, this time for decision.
Move that council direct administration to proceed with the necessary steps to request the installation of signage on the provincial highway identifying historic Lakeshore Drive, and that any associated costs be brought forward to council in the next budget cycle.
Excellent. We've already received an email for information on this, so I think that's given us most of the background we need. I think we are working on a bit of a process that with future items, we could get some administrative advice on it, but I'll just give that opportunity. Is there anything we hadn't considered before we vote on this, or any concerns from administration?
No, I think we're good. Yeah, this one was just a little late for that, but kept moving forward. The second notice, or when it comes back for vote, we will have a report for council.
Councillor Dakin.
In the DLMP, it talked about the signage on Lakeshore Drive. And so if they were going to review that, I think it would be a great opportunity for them to add, or are we going to look at adding extra signage down on actual Lakeshore Drive to say historical included in that? Because it says on the highway, but is there going to be actual signage on Lakeshore Drive so that people know, not just drive by? Yes.
If we get that far, I think it'd be appropriate. So that's, if we can get it on the highway, then it's, but we can do it anytime, locally.
Any additional comments on Councillor Parsons' motion? Councillor Stindy.
In the spirit of celebrating that historic, the history that we're trying to celebrate, we have lots of good signage like on the walkways and stuff, and I think we can keep emphasizing that by increasing the profile of two particular zones in our town. They're the same place. Lower Camp was the old neighborhood name for the portion closest to Petro Beach, and before it was known in that exact way, or maybe simultaneously, the official suburb there used to be called Kinnibeak Park. And that's why you get that Kinnibeak Society that runs that common land along the waterfront there. And they presented last year to council that one night. So, you know, celebrating that idea of the historic, and then people, when they arrive here, they see the sign, here you are, you're right on historic Lakeshore Drive, and then you start seeing the things that tell us about our history. And just we have lots of signs. I'm just saying we could even do a few more.
That being said, at the Archives AGM, they discussed a whole package of stuff that they're doing, so that's all locally. So, yeah, it's a nice start.
Any additional comments or debate? Councillor Parsons has a motion on the floor. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried unanimously. Would someone like to make a motion to bring us in camera? Councillor Dakin.
Just because it's 8 o'clock, and if these items are going to go longer, should we make a motion now to go past 9 if we need to? Or are these going to be short ones?
I don't know the answer to that, but
we should be good.
I think, yeah, we've got enough of a buffer. Oh, here's hoping. Let's make that a target. Councillor Mearns.
Make a motion that this regular meeting of council continue the closed session to discuss a land matter, and this item shall remain confidential pursuant to section 24(1)(c) of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000, CF-25, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RCA 2000, CM26.
Excellent. All those in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Councillor Rilling.
I move that the closed meeting concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Excellent. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried unanimously. Councillor Mearns.
Make a motion that this regular meeting of council continue at the closed session to discuss agreements with another municipal government, and this term shall remain confidential pursuant to section 21(1)(b) of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, RSA 2000, CF-25, and section 197(2) of the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, CM26.
Excellent. Those in favor and opposed? That is also carried unanimously. Ready? Who would like to bring us out of camera? Counselor
I
Rilling?
can. I move that the closed meeting concludes and council reverts back to the regular meeting of council.
Great. All those in favor and opposed? That is carried. Council will take a 10-minute recess and reconvene for some motions. We'll just wait till we get the thumbs up. We are back from recess, and we've got a couple motions to make. Councillor Payne.
I move that council direct administration to proceed with the sale of part of Block X Plan 1549AJ as discussed in the closed session.
Excellent. Oh, yes.
Did we already make a motion to come out of closed?
We did.
Okay, I missed it. Thank you.
We took care of that. We probably shouldn't have gone ahead without you, but we did. Sorry about that. Councillor Payne has a motion on the floor. Do we have any questions or comments, council? All those in favor? And that opposed? That is carried unanimously. Are you looking to make a second
I will
motion?
further move another motion that council enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Summer Village of Normanvold respecting the growth and annexation of future lands.
Excellent. Any additional comments, council? All those in favor? And opposed? That is carried unanimously. Council, we've reached the end of our agenda tonight. Have a great evening.